All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something that, if you're a business owner, you probably feel in your bones. It's this quest to build a company that doesn't just survive, but actually thrives without you having to be at the center of every single little thing. We're going to break down how to create what we call an autonomous business engine, a business that runs itself, freeing you up to finally focus on the big picture. And it all starts with a simple but pretty powerful question.
Yeah, just let that sink in for a second. An invisible payroll. A hidden cost that's not showing up on any spreadsheet, but it's there, and it's draining your resources every single day. You feel this cost, right? It shows up as stress, as frustration, as that feeling that you've just hit a growth ceiling you can't seem to break through. You feel it, but you might not have a name for it. Well, today, we're going to give it one.
So, what is this invisible payroll?
Well, it actually has a name. And believe it or not, just understanding what to call it is the first critical step toward getting rid of it for good.
Okay, so here's the culprit. It's called operational drag. And it's so dangerous because it's not one big dramatic event. It's truly death by 1,000 tiny cuts. It's all those hours your team spends copy-pasting from a spreadsheet to an email. It's the manual data entry, the double-checking. Every single little task that a machine could and should be doing that's slowly bleeding your business of its most precious assets, your time and your energy. So let's get real for a minute. Does any of this sound familiar? You've got your best people, your absolute A players, stuck doing admin work that's completely beneath them. That's talent waste. How about this one? A hot lead comes in, but by the time someone follows up, they've already gone cold. That's just lost revenue walking out the door. Or maybe a customer's experience completely depends on which team member they happen to talk to that day. And of course, the big one for founders, can you ever truly unplug? If you're nodding your head, you have to realize these aren't a bunch of separate problems. They're all symptoms of one single disease, operational drag. Now, the typical reaction to all these problems is to just throw technology at it, right? Let's buy a new app. But as we're about to see, that common approach is actually a trap, and it can make everything so much worse. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? You see a problem, you buy a new piece of software. You see another gap in your process, you subscribe to another service. But pretty soon, you realize you haven't bought a solution at all. You've just created a new full-time job for somebody, managing, connecting, and troubleshooting all these different tools. You haven't fixed the root cause. You've just built a more complicated and expensive version of it. And this is the fundamental choice every growing business eventually faces. On the left, you've got that Frankenstein system. You know what I'm talking about? It's a chaotic mess of apps that don't talk to each other. This forces you to be generic, and you end up competing on price because your operations are just as clunky as everybody else's. But the goal, the dream, is what's over on the right. A single, unified system that's built around your unique way of doing things. That's what automates all the grunt work and finally frees up your team to focus on what really matters. Okay, so we've spent some time digging into the problem. Now let's shift gears. Let's talk about the solution. Let's actually paint a picture of what this new reality, a business on autopilot, really looks and feels like. And here's a really, really crucial idea. This whole journey, it's not ultimately about a technical goal like automation. I mean, that's just the mechanism. That's the how. The real prize, the actual objective here is an emotional one. It's freedom. Freedom for you as the owner to think bigger, and freedom for your team to do their best, most meaningful work. That's the real end game. So what does this freedom look like in the real world? Well, it's the freedom to finally step back and work on your business instead of being trapped in the day-to-day grind. It's the freedom to scale up, to take on more clients without that constant fear in the back of your mind that everything is just going to break. It's the peace of mind to take a real vacation, knowing that every single client is getting a perfect, consistent experience. That's what it feels like when your business has its own autonomous engine. Now, that all sounds like a fantastic dream, but how do you actually engineer it into reality? See, this isn't about wishful thinking. It's about a disciplined, strategic approach. The best way to get to this kind of freedom follows a clear logic, almost like an equation, that makes success feel inevitable. This framework is often called a value equation, and it's a super powerful way to think about any big project. The goal is always to maximize the good stuff, the dream outcome and the likelihood you'll actually get it,
while minimizing the bad stuff, how long it takes, and how much effort you have to put in. An engineered solution, like the kind we pioneer at JCII Consulting, is built from the ground up to optimize these 4 things. It's all designed to get you to true freedom with the least amount of risk as fast as humanly possible. So, how do you maximize that likelihood of achievement? You start by being specific. You get away from vague promises like, we'll make you more efficient, and you put a hard number on it. For example, you promise a minimum reduction of 20% in the time your team spends on all that manual, repetitive work. See how that's different? It's a clear, measurable benchmark for success.
And then you take it one giant step further. You completely reverse the risk. 100% money-back guarantee? Well, that does more than just protect the investment. It's a massive statement of confidence. It basically says we are so certain we can deliver on our promise that we're willing to take all of the risk onto our own shoulders. That one simple shift changes the entire dynamic and makes success feel like a sure thing.
So, with that foundation of trust and a really clear value proposition, what's the logical first step on this journey to freedom? Well, it's not about trying to boil the ocean. It's about solving the most immediate, most pressing problem that every single business faces. First, here's the simple truth of it all. You can have the most perfect, most efficient systems in the entire world, but they are completely useless without a steady stream of clients coming in the door. The logic of growth is always the same. First, you get the clients. Then, you build the rock-solid systems you need to serve them flawlessly as you scale up. Growth is what creates the demand for efficiency, not the other way around. And that leads to a really powerful philosophy for building relationships with clients. You give first. Instead of starting with a big sales pitch, you start by providing real, tangible value. The strategy is to help a potential partner solve their most urgent problem right now, often for free, to earn the trust and the right to help them with their bigger, long-term challenges later on. And this is exactly what that philosophy looks like in action. The first step isn't a sales call. It's a gift of value, a deep analysis of your current marketing, your website, your messaging, and we hand you a custom report packed with a clear roadmap for getting more clients immediately. There's no cost, there's no obligation. The goal is just to demonstrate value and build trust right from day one. And this is what brings the whole strategy full circle. It's a logical 2-step journey. Let's solve your most pressing problem, getting clients, today. Because once we help you grow, you're going to have a new, much better problem on your hands, how to handle all that new business. And we'll be right there, already your trusted partner, ready to help you solve that systems problem tomorrow. And this is really what it all comes down to. It's the core belief that with the right systems in place, with that operational drag finally gone, the true potential of your business, your team, and you yourself can finally be unlocked. So if this strategic approach resonates with you, if it makes sense, then the next step is super simple. Just click the link to schedule your free, no-obligation strategy call, and we'll get started on that custom marketing report built just for your business. So we'll end with this one last thing for you to think about. If you were truly free from that day-to-day grind, if you were no longer bogged down by the 1,000 tiny cuts of operational drag, what could you really build? What would be next for you and your business? Thanks so much for joining us on The Explainer.